My name's Deputy Inspector General of Police, Dr. Shehu, PSC. To talk about PRAWA, Prisoners Rehabilitation and Welfare Action, we have a very, very good rapport, good understanding, and good synergy between the police and PRAWA for many years. It is an institution that concerns primarily on respect of dignity and human rights, which the police are supposed to be part of it. And also capacity building to the police to enable them to perform effectively and efficiently in conjunction with the fundamental respect to the fundamental human rights as enshrined into the Nigerian constitutions of 1999. It's very, very beneficial, and at the same time in building capacity and enabling the police officers to perform credibly when they go out to discharge their duties. The police is an organization that deals with all kinds of human beings. When they come across a police officer, they deserve to be respected by police in ensuring not only their security and safety, but also in respecting their dignity and human rights. So in a nutshell, the training and retraining we are getting from the PRAWA is to enable us have police that will function and discharge their duties in a most standard and acceptable manner by members of the public. At this juncture, I want to say kudos. Welcome to the Nigeria Police Force online training.
Today, we're going to discuss on a very, very important issue, and that is the rights of persons under detention and prevention of torture. We're going to look critically into this issue, but you know clearly that oftentimes this is one of the biggest challenges that the Nigerian police force seem to be accused of, or a lot of people seem to be complaining about. And what is it? The rights of persons that are detained. The first issue is to look at what is really the rationale for talking about an issue like this. And that will be the first module that we'll look at. The lesson's objective for this is to create awareness on the rationale for protecting the rights of persons in detention. What are we expecting to be the outcome of this training? We expect that you that has taken time to take on this online training will, at the end of this training, be able to understand why the rights of detainees should be protected. Not only understanding why it should be this case, you will also be able to know how to achieve this. You know, the treatment of those persons who are known as detainees or inmates or prisoners, depending on what we want to use to describe them, remains a major challenge in the area of improvement in relation to how we deal with issues about human rights. A person who is arrested or any person who is in pretrial detention, including any person who is serving a sentence upon conviction, which means the person is in custody. Now, with the Nigerian Correctional Service Act 2019, these persons are described now as inmates. We really need to know that these persons have rights. Someone will begin to ask, why should this be the case? You know that when you detain someone, you have taken the person completely out of the normal view of individuals, the normal view of members of their families. And the real issue here is that we want to be sure that when these people are in places of confinement, that their rights are also protected, and that they are not exposed to torture, they are not exposed to inhuman and degrading treatment, and that they are not exposed to anything that we know will inflict on their physical as well as mental well-being. So if you look at this particular module, it's really talking about how do you respect and observe the human dignity of persons. There are several international human rights instruments that speaks to this issue. There are several both legal framework as well as practical measures that have been put in place to enable you as a police officer, and indeed to enable every law enforcement agent to know how to treat and observe these rights. Persons who are deprived of their liberty must be treated according to laid down principles. Clear. There must be very clear, accessible, and precise way of dealing with them, which clearly complies with international standards in respect of the rights of these individuals. What are these principles that should guide the persons who are in places of detention? Number one, all human beings are born free and equal in terms of the respect to their rights and dignity. You remember what you studied during course 1 about Introduction to Human Rights. It is speaking again here. Human rights is actually derived from inherent dignity, the respect of dignity of these persons. So we must ensure that this is the case. It's important to note that while we try to protect these rights of persons who are in places of detention, the issue about rule of law and the efficiency of the justice delivery system. Number two, linked to that, which is the issue I mentioned to you about the issue about human dignity. But it's also the question of sanctity of life. Because we must respect the sanctity of life. We don't have the power to take a life of anyone except through laid down laws. The whole notion of preventing abuse as well as overuse of power. Don't forget, as a police officer, you have the gun, you have the instrument of force. And if there are no laid down rules in terms of how you treat these people, your guess is as good as mine, what you can do in terms of how you can use this force. I hope you remember and you are applying all that you have studied in terms of the course dealing with use of force. Then there is also the notion of ensuring that persons who have come in contact with you, who you have detained, are also people who you know can be reformed, can be rehabilitated, can be reintegrated. In other words, every human being that you have arrested and you are detaining has the potential to turn a new leaf, assuming they are really guilty for what you are detaining them for. So by trying to kill them, maim them, torture them, by not observing their rights when they are in detention in the police stations, It means that it looks like you think that those people can never change. They can never be reformed. In other words, even if they are guilty, it's important to know that they can also change. So what is the role of the police? You just make sure that that role of arresting them, preparing the evidence that will be used to prosecute them, is just there. You are not to serve as a judge or as a court. You are not the correctional service that is supposed to implement that punishment, and whatever punishment that is given to them. So, in other words, by having these laid down rules, by having these principles, is a way to give you the guideline to know that once you have arrested somebody and you brought the person into a police station or any other place that is lawfully a place that you can detain them, it is not a position or opportunity for you to what? Kill or maim them. There is a procedure that enables you to do the needful. So every right, which we are going to deal with subsequent modules, that these people are entitled to, you must ensure that those are given to them. The only thing that they are not entitled to is the right to move out. So you are restricting them within the confines of the procedure that has enabled and the duration that you can actually detain them for that period. Thank you.